The jungle air was thick, wet, and full of strange sounds. Giant trees twisted into the sky, and strange vines dangled like claws. A group of humans stood in front of a half-buried alien temple. The stone looked old, cracked, and covered in glowing moss. Carvings of strange faces and symbols covered the walls. The place looked like it hadn't been touched for 1,000 years. Jace Halden, young explorer with a cocky smile, wiped sweat from his forehead and looked at his friends. "You scared?" he asked, smirking. "No," said Ellie. "The team's engineer, but you go first." Behind them, the crew laughed nervously. They were part of the exploration ship Argos, sent to explore lost alien planets. This one recorded only as Xyler 17 was supposed to be dead. No life signs, no danger, just ruins, but the ruins didn't feel dead. In the center of the temple stood a giant statue, carved in black stone. It was a woman, or at least something shaped like one. Her face was sharp and regal. Her eyes were closed. She wore strange armor. One hand held a spear, the other rested on her chest. A plaque beneath the statue was barely readable. It was in an old alien language, but the translator showed a rough message. "Kiss the queen. Wake the trial." "It's just a myth," said Clay, the oldest in the crew. "No one even knows who she was." Ellie elbowed Jace. "Hey, lover." "Boy, go kiss the statue," Jace laughed. "What? No way." "Oh, come on," she said, teasing. "Afraid she'd come to life and slap you?" More laughter. Jace stepped forward. "Fine. One quick kiss. Then you all owe me a drink." He walked up the steps slowly. The closer he got, the colder the air became. The moss on the statue glowed slightly brighter. He stood in front of the statue, stared up at its silent face. "Looks like she hasn't had company in a while," he whispered. He leaned in and gave the statue a quick kiss on the lips. It was cold, like stone, dead, lifeless. He turned to the others and bowed. "There, Your Highness. Was it everything you dreamed of?" Suddenly, the statue's eyes flicked open, glowing red. Everyone froze. A deep voice, cold and ancient, echoed through the temple. "You doomed your species." Jace stepped back in shock. "Did you hear that?" The ground shook slightly beneath their feet. The air felt thicker. A loud crack echoed as one of the temple's walls split down the middle. Ellie looked pale. "What? What just happened?" "Malfunction?" Clay whispered, but his voice lacked belief. The statue's eyes stayed open. Her lips moved again, just slightly. "You kissed the queen. The trial begins." Jace turned around and bolted down the stairs. The crew followed. Stumbling and shouting, they ran through the jungle path that brought them here. But something was wrong. The path was gone. Trees had shifted. Vines now blocked the trail. Giant roots twisted over where their tracks had been. "Just minutes ago, that's impossible," Ellie said, breathless. "The jungle moved, or it's alive," Jace said quietly. "They camped outside the ruins for the night." Too shaken to go back to the ship, Jace couldn't sleep. He sat by the fire, staring at his hand. There was a strange mark on his palm, dark red, shaped like a flame, or maybe a crown. It hadn't been there before. He tried to scrub it, but it didn't go away. As he looked up, he noticed something else. The crew wasn't moving. They were sitting near the fire, just like before, but they were frozen, his eyes open, not blinking. "Not breathing, guys," Geis whispered. No one answered. He stood and shook Ellie's shoulder. Her skin felt cold. "Like stone, Ellie." He said louder. Her eyes moved, slowly, but her head didn't. Jace backed away, panic rising in his chest. Suddenly her lips opened, just slightly. And in the queen's voice, not her own, she whispered, "You are the last breath before judgment." Jace stood in the middle of the silent jungle camp, heart pounding in his chest. The fire crackled softly, but the world around him had gone still, too still. His crewmates were not asleep, not unconscious, but frozen. Their bodies sat perfectly, still, their eyes wide and empty. Only Ellie had moved, only to whisper words that did not belong to her. Jace stepped back. Tripping over a vine, he stared at his hand again. The strange mark glowed now, like faint fire under his skin. He felt heat in his palm, like it was alive. Suddenly, the ground beneath him trembled. The soil cracked slightly as something stirred deep below. He turned to look back at the ancient temple. The statue was no longer still. The alien queen stood. At the top of the steps, her eyes glowing red, her body no longer stone but smooth and real. She was tall and terrifying, her armor black and covered in alien symbols. Her gaze locked onto Jace. The kiss awakened me. "But you are not the one I was meant to rise for," she said in a voice that echoed like wind over bones. Jayak couldn't speak. "You touched what was sacred," she continued. "Now the judgment begins." He finally found his voice. "I didn't mean to." It was just a joke. Her expression changed, not anger, but something else. Pity. Double quotes. Humans never mean. 2. That is their curse. Suddenly, a howl echoed through the jungle. Not human, not animal, something ancient. The trees rustled as something large moved between them. A cold wind blew through the leaves. Jace grabbed the flashlight from his belt and shined it toward the noise. Dozens of glowing eyes looked back. At him, creatures, tall and insect-like, began crawling from the darkness. Their bodies were covered in cracked armor. Their jaws clicked with hunger. They moved fast, circling the camp. The queen raised her hand. They were sealed away. "But your kiss broke that seal." Alien beasts surrounded Jace, but none attacked. Instead, they stared at him, at the glowing mark on his hand. "Why aren't they attacking me?" he asked. "Because the mark is yours now," the queen said. "You are the cursed. You are the flame." Suddenly, one of the beasts leapt onto Ellie. Jace shouted and ran forward, but before he could reach her, the creature stopped. Its claws hovered inches from her face. It turned and looked at Jace. Then it backed away. Ellie's skin turned pale gray like the statue had been. She opened her eyes, but they weren't her eyes anymore. They were silver, glowing faintly. She stood up slowly. "Ellie," he whispered. She looked at him. Something inside her recognized him. And something else did not. In a voice that was part hers and part not, she said, "You must carry it now. You must lead." "What do you mean?" The alien queen began to descend the temple steps. Her long, sharp feet touched the ground with heavy tutus. She reached out toward Jace, and the mark on his hand pulsed with light. "The trial has rules," she said. "Only the marked one may continue." "What about my team?" "Astone. Until you pass." He looked around at his frozen crew, fear gripping his throat. "What happens if I fail?" The queen stared at him without blinking. "Then earth burns." Jace couldn't believe what he was hearing. He had kissed a statue, and now the fate of his entire species was at risk. "No," he said, backing away. "This can't be real. This is a dream. This is just some alien test or mind game, right?" Queen's face stayed cold and still. "You think this is a game? It is not. It is memory. It is punishment. It is the result of your ancestors' betrayal. My ancestors." The queen stepped closer. 1,000 years ago, humans were chosen to guard the flame. But they broke the bond. They ran. They left my kind to die. And now, one of their children has kissed the gate of judgment. Jace looked at Ellie again. She was breathing now, not frozen like the others. But she stood like a stranger. "What do I do?" The queen raised her hand again. "Take the blade from the altar inside the temple. If it accepts you, your trial begins. And if it doesn't, then your bones will rest beside mine." Jace looked at the jungle, the beasts, the queen, and the motionless crew. He took a deep breath and walked back into the temple. Inside, past the glowing moss and cracked walls, was a raised platform. On it sat a sword, alien in shape, its surface covered in blue energy veins, pulsed gently like a heartbeat. He reached out, the moment. His fingers touched the hilt. The blade burst into light, and the queen's voice rang out again. "The fire accepts you, but fire does not save. It tests. It burns." The alien blade pulsed in Jace's hand, glowing brighter with each heartbeat. It didn't feel like metal. It felt alive, warm, buzzing, like it was breathing through his skin. His palm mark glowed too, syncing with the weapon behind him. The statue-turned-queen watched in silence. "You are now the flame-bearer," she said. "The last key." Jace looked at her, confused. "Key to what?" "To the prison beneath us," she replied. "The place where the truth still sleeps." Before he could speak again, the ground beneath the altar cracked open. Mist exploded upward, and the platform began to descend like an elevator. Jace stumbled, but held on tight. "The queen didn't follow. You must go alone," she said as he sank. "The dead remember." The platform dropped into darkness. Only the blades. Light guided him now. The chamber below was enormous. Cold air rushed past his face. As the platform touched the floor, strange blue crystals lit up the walls, revealing alien carvings, massive murals telling a story in stone. Jace walked slowly. Reading the images, the first showed humans and aliens standing together, shaking hands, smiling. The second showed war humans firing weapons at alien cities, flames and chaos everywhere. The third showed betrayal, a human standing before the queen, holding the same glowing blade, then turning it against her. The fourth was blank, cracked, smashed. Something had erased the end. Jack felt a chill crawl up his spine. So this wasn't the first time a human had held this blade. It wasn't the first time Earth had been here. "Hey." Voice echoed behind him, soft but ancient. "You remember now?" He turned but saw no one. The crystals on the wall brightened. Ahead was a massive sealed door. Alien symbols flashed across it. The blade in his hand vibrated. He stepped closer. As he did, the symbols rearranged. His translator blinked rapidly, then finally displayed the words, "Chamber of Judgment, Soul Witnesses Within." The door opened with a loud hiss. Inside were rows of tall cryopods, maybe 20, maybe more, each one holding a body inside. Tall alien warriors, sleeping in stillness. Their armor looked old and cracked, their faces peaceful. But some pods were empty, and others shattered. Jakey moved between the pods. Each one had a marking like a family crest or a rank. One pod flickered with a broken seal. The figure inside twitched. Jay stepped back. Suddenly the pod hissed open, steam rushing out. The alien inside slowly sat up, his skin pale blue, his eyes glowing yellow. He looked at Jace, then at the blade, and bowed his head. "Flamebearer," the alien said in a tired voice. "It has returned to you. Who are you?" Ace asked. "Was Commander Valak. I fought in the last betrayal. I died, but the trial brought me back." "Why me? I didn't choose any of this." "No flamebearer ever does," Valak said. "But you carry the mark, the weapon, the bond." Another pod opened, then another. More aliens stepped out, silent, watchful. They didn't attack. They stood like soldiers ready to serve. One of them stepped forward. Her face had scars, her eyes sharp. "The trial has begun again, and Earth must answer." Jace couldn't believe what he was hearing. He was just an explorer, not a warrior, not a leader. And yet these beings, stronger, older, dead for centuries, were looking at him as if he was their commander. He looked down at the blade. It pulsed gently like a heartbeat. "I don't know what I'm supposed to do," he whispered. Fell, nodded. "Then let us show you." At the far end of the chamber, a stone console lit up. It displayed a galactic map, stars and worlds. Jace didn't recognize. But one of them blinked. Red dot, Earth. The red blink turned to orange, then yellow. It was a countdown. "What is that?" Jace asked. Judgment, Valak said. "Oh. Your world has been marked. The ones we fought, the Devourers, have seen the flame's light. They are coming to destroy Earth, to test it." Jace stepped back, breath caught in his chest. "I have to warn them," he said. "I have to get back to my ship." "Turn to the others. Activate the path." A circle on the floor opened, revealing a small, ancient ship. It looked old, but still powered. Blue light glowed at its core. "This was built by both our people," a scarred alien woman said. "It will take you back to the surface and beyond if needed." "But I don't even know how to fly that," The ship lit up on its own. The blade in Jace's hand pulsed. "It knows," Felix said. Jace climbed into the ship, heart racing as it rose upward through the ruins. The Queen's voice returned in his mind. "The past is not dead. When you woke me, you woke everything." The walls opened, and light poured in. Above him, the jungle was burning, and in the sky, a dark shape hovered. A ship not human, not friendly. A warning. Jace's heart pounded as the ancient ship broke through the stone ceiling of the temple and rose into the jungle sky. The trees snapped and burst into flame below. The once quiet ruins were now crawling with monsters, shadows moving fast between the burning vines. And above him, a giant alien warship hovered like a silent god. It had no windows, no engines, it was just a black shape, smooth like bone, with glowing red lines across its hull. A low hum filled the air, vibrating deep inside his chest. He stared up at it, his hands gripping the controls tightly, though he barely understood what he was flying. The ship seemed to fly itself. It reacted to the blade resting across his lap, glowing with soft blue energy. The ship recognized it. It obeyed it. The Devourers had arrived, and Earth didn't even know far below. The alien queen stood at the ruins' gate, looking up at the sky. "The first judgment begins," she whispered. "Let us see if he truly carries the fire." The enemy ship pulsed with light. Massive beam opened underneath it, glowing bright but not attacking. Projecting out, as a hologram shimmered into view before Jace's ship. The figure was tall and horrific. An alien covered in metal skin and bone armor. Its mouth didn't move, but a voice rang in Jace's mind. "You wear her mark, human. You carry her flame. You awakened the forgotten." Jace narrowed his eyes. "Who are you? The ones your ancestors ran from? The ones you were meant to serve, not betray?" Jace clenched the controls. "I didn't betray anyone. I don't even know you." The voice grew colder, then died ignorant. The enemy ship launched a swarm of black drones, spinning blades. With red eyes flying like insects, Jace's ship lit up. Its sides opened, releasing blue fire that curved through the sky. A shield formed around him as the ship spun in the air, dodging the first wave. The blade in Jace's lap suddenly lifted, floated in the air before him, and then melted into his skin. He gasped, but it didn't hurt.
"Ow, it's dead."
Energy rushed through his body. The ship responded instantly. His fingers glowed with blue light. His eyes shimmered silver. He was now flying with thought alone. The swarm closed in fast. Jace pulled the ship upward, twisting between trees, dodging plasma shots. The first few drones smashed into trees, but the rest adapted. They began to predict his moves. The ship whispered through his mind, "Don't run, burn." He spun the ship midair and charged into the swarm. Twin blue beams burst from the wings, cutting through the enemy like lightning. The sky lit with explosions. Back at the temple, Ellie stirred. Her body, once frozen, trembled with life. Her gray skin began to fade, color returning. The queen stood over her. "The flame chooses," she said, "and he has chosen to fight." Ellie gasped awake, memories flashing through her eyes. She sat up, gripping her head. "Jace," she whispered, "is flying." Above, Jace fought like he never had before. His mind and the ship were one. His fear was fading, replaced by something deeper. A fire inside him, a voice. That didn't feel like his own, yet echoed through his bones. "They cannot take what was never theirs." A drone crashed into his wing. The ship spun violently. Smoke poured from the side. Warning lights flashed in alien symbols. Jace gritted his teeth and aimed directly at the enemy warship. His ship was damaged, but he didn't stop. He raced forward, dodging shots until he was close, too close. The enemy ship opened a mouth-like hatch inside. He saw dozens of black cables, moving like snakes. Then, a scream. Not his. "Halt." A voice cried from deep within the enemy ship. A new shape stepped out, female, but tall, armored in bone, and with a face like cracked glass. She looked almost like the alien queen, but darker. "You carry her blood." The new alien said, "Impossible." The queen was sealed. Jace aimed his weapons. "I kissed her. That counts, right?" she screamed. The sky around them shook. Lightning struck the trees below. "You fool. You bound yourself to her bloodline. Now her enemies are yours." Jace smiled faintly. "I figured that out." He pressed his hand to the control. The ship's energy core flared. A massive pulse of blue light burst from his vessel, crashing into the enemy ship's mouth. The cables inside fried instantly. The warship groaned, its lights flickering. The queen's voice echoed in his head once more. "Flame does not run. Flame burns. And you have burned them." The enemy ship retreated, limping backward. Into the clouds, the drones fell lifeless to the jungle floor. Silence returned. Jace landed near the ruins, his ship sparking and steaming. Ellie ran to him. You fought a devourer," she said. In disbelief, "I think I made them mad." The queen stepped forward. "And that," she said, "is the first test. The rest will not be so easy." Night had fallen on the jungle ruins, but nothing felt peaceful. Fire still burned in the trees. Smoke curled around the broken temple stones. In the dark sky, the stars blinked nervously, as if they, too, were watching. Jace sat on a cracked stone, holding his chest, still breathing hard. His ship was a wreck behind him. Ellie sat nearby, silent. Neither of them spoke much since the battle. There were no words for what they had seen. The alien queen walked toward them. Her armor was dull now, covered in ash and old blood. Stood tall, as if time itself bowed to her presence. She stopped in front of Jace. "You survived," she said softly. "Barely," he replied. She stared at him for a long moment. "Then the flame has truly accepted you." Jace looked up at her. "What does that even mean? You keep talking about fire, trials, bloodlines. What am I now?" "You're the last mistake of the past," she said. "And the first hope of what comes next?" She raised her hand, and the ground beside the temple cracked open once more. But this time, it wasn't stone that emerged. It was her, another version of her, a second queen, lying inside a transparent cocoon, asleep or something worse. Her body was the same, her armor the same. But her skin had cracks like shattered glass, and her mouth was locked in a silent scream. Jace stood, shocked. Ellie gasped. "That's you," Ellie whispered, "isn't it?" The queen looked at her own frozen twin. "No," she said. "That was me. That was the first queen. The one your kind betrayed." Jace blinked. "You said you were the queen." "I am. I was grown from her memories, created from her will. I'm what remains. A second self, a copy with purpose." "You're a clone?" Ellie asked. "A soul fragment," she answered, "grown in secret, hidden from the devourers. I slept for centuries, waiting for one thing." She turned and looked at Jace. The kiss. Jace looked down. The weight of it all was crushing him. "I was just trying to make my friends laugh. Let that laughter woke a war," she said. "But it had to happen. Without your action, foolish or not, the seal would not break. The past would stay buried. And Earth," she pointed at the sky, "would die without knowing why." Ellie looked at the frozen queen inside the cocoon. What happened to her? The standing queen's voice dropped low. She trusted humans once. Long ago, gave them technology, knowledge, and flame. In return, they sold her location to the devourers. Jace's stomach sank. She died because of us. She was burned, alive by her enemies, while your ancestors watched from their ships and turned away. They feared what she became. A queen strong enough to challenge the balance of stars. Jace stepped closer to the frozen cocoon. "I didn't know any of this." "Of course not," the queen said. "Your leaders erased it. Your history is clean, but not true. You're the descendants of cowards. And yet—" She stepped beside him. "The flame chose you." Suddenly the sky cracked open with sound. A deep hum vibrated the trees. A fleet, not human. 10 massive ships entered the planet's orbit. Each ship looked like a creature, part machine, part bone, shaped like Ancient monsters. They surrounded the planet like a trap. A glowing ring appeared in the sky. Ellie gasped. "What is that?" The Queen's voice turned cold. "The Judgment Ring." Jace stared up at it. "What does it do?" "It watches. It records. It decides if your world is worthy to remain." "Remain?" Ellie asked. "You mean survive?" The Queen didn't answer. Suddenly, a voice echoed from the cocoon, cracked, distant, like something long buried. "Flame found again. Let me see him." The cocoon flickered. The frozen Queen's eyes moved slightly. Jace stepped back. "She's waking." "Up, no," the living Queen said. "She's responding to you, to your flame." He looked at his hand. The mark burned brighter now, red and gold, alive with energy. Then the ground shook, and a pillar of fire burst from the center of the ruins. Reaching into the sky, it struck the Judgment Ring. The ring responded, glowing bright. All the alien ships turned. Every single one pointed at Earth. Jace's earpiece buzzed. A weak voice came through, garbled. It's broken, but clear enough to freeze his blood. "This is Commander Reeve from Earth Command. We are under threat. A signal just struck our satellites. Civilian comms are collapsing. We're surrounded." The message cut out. Jace turned to the Queen. "They found Earth, as they always would," she said. "But now." "To see how your kind answers." Jace looked at the sky. The judgment had begun. He had no army, no ship, no plan, just a queen. A blade inside him, and the truth in his blood. But the fire in his hand did not fade, and somewhere deep inside, the frozen Queen was smiling. The fire pillar still burned into the sky, a warning written in flame. The Judgment Ring above the planet glowed like a second sun. 10 alien ships circled the orbit, watching silently, not attacking yet, but waiting. Judging Jay stood at the center of the ancient ruins, sweat on his brow, the mark on his palm glowing bright. Behind him, Ellie stared at the sky with wide eyes. Around them, the Queen's stone warriors had gathered once more, now fully awakened, weapons in hand. Armor humming. The Queen spoke quietly, her voice calm but cold. "They won't speak. They won't send messages. They won't negotiate. The Devourers don't ask questions. They simply observe." They turned to her, and then they destroy. She nodded. "Unless you prove your world should survive." It's high above. The planet, aboard one of the Devourer ships, a vast room flickered with light. A council of glowing figures stood around a living map of Earth. They had no faces, just shapes, tall, slow-moving beings of energy and bone. "Primitive, unready, reckless," one said. "They unleashed the flame again," said another. "Taps." Was chance, a third whispered. "But we must still test their soul." The Devourers didn't destroy for fun. They did it to keep balance, to remove threats before they grew into monsters. It was not war. It was cleansing, and Earth was next. Jace stood before the Queen, trembling. "How do I prove anything? I don't have an army. I don't have power." The Queen stepped forward and touched his shoulder. The fire mark on his palm flared, and a surge of memory entered his mind. He gasped. Visions of war. Human ships long ago, burning alien cities, stealing relics, fleeing into deep space. He saw faces, names, history erased from Earth's records, and then he saw something else. Children, human and alien, together, laughing. A bond that once existed. The Queen's voice echoed in his thoughts. "Your kind once chose fear. But not all of them. Some stayed, some loved, and some died for us." Jace dropped to one knee, overwhelmed. "I saw it. We weren't all monsters. No species is all one thing," the Queen replied. "The trial looks for fire in the heart, not perfection." Suddenly the mark on his palm burned hotter. Looked up and saw a hologram forming above the ruins. It was the Devourers. A tall figure stood in the projection. His voice a thunderous echo. "Flamebearer, you have awakened judgment. Earth is now marked." Jace stood, breathing hard. "Give us a chance. Let me speak for my people." Words are not trials, the devourer said. Actions are. The hologram shimmered, revealing Earth's orbit. More ships were coming. 10, 20. Now 50 Devour-class vessels surrounding Earth. We will test your world's fire, you may defend it. Back on Earth, panic had already started. Cities lost power. Satellites failed. The skies over major nations glowed red with warnings. Earth. Command had no idea what was happening, only that something massive had arrived. Inside the temple ruins. The Queen turned to Jace. You must lead the defense. Jace laughed nervously. Me? I'm not even a soldier. You are flamebound now, she said. They will listen if your fire burns bright enough. Suddenly, the alien warriors stepped forward and knelt, one by one. They lowered their weapons before him. Then Ellie stepped up. You won't do this alone. She pressed something into his hand. A small disc. His communicator. It's old tech, she said, but it connects to Earth's frequencies. Jace looked at the sky. He raised the disc to his lips. Earth. Command, this is Jace Halden, field explorer of the Argos. If you're hearing this, do not fire, do not run. You are being watched, judged, and we have one chance to prove who we are. Silence, then static. Then a voice crackled through. This is Commander Reeve, Jace. You're alive. I am, Dave. And I need every defense ship Earth has. Not to fire, but to stand. Let them see we won't break. Reeve's voice lowered. You expect them to be afraid of us? No, Jace said. But I expect them to see something more dangerous. What? Hope? An hour later, Earth's fleets launched into orbit. Every ship they had, old and new, small and massive, left their docks and hovered silently before the Endeavor. They didn't fire. They didn't run. They simply stood. Billions of humans on Earth looked to the sky and waited. On the Devourer command ship, one figure raised his hand. They are standing, not attacking, not begging, that is. Different, whispered another. Not what we expected from the children of betrayal. One voice echoed through the dark room. Let the fire continue. Delay cleansing. Back on the planet? The Queen looked up. They didn't leave us alone because they feared you, she said quietly. They left because, for the first time, they were unsure. Jace whispered, so we passed? The Queen turned to him. No, the trial is not over. This was only the knock on the door. The world had gone quiet. Jace floated above the planet in the alien ship, staring at the red glow of the Judgment Ring. It no longer felt like just a machine. It felt like something alive, watching, waiting, ready to decide the fate of Earth. Beside him, the reborn Queen stood on her own vessel, glowing softly. Her armor shimmered like light and smoke. She looked at him across the void, her voice clear in his mind. This is the final moment. The fire has burned. Now we must see what remains. Earth's skies were broken. Cities still smoked from the last attack. Satellites hung like dead birds in orbit. But the people below were still standing, humans who had fought with everything. They had. Some with weapons. Some with words. Some with nothing but hope. The Queen raised her hand. And golden light spread across space. The Judgment Ring responded. It shifted from red to silver, then to a deep bright gold. A voice, ancient and layered, echoed across every channel, every mind. Flamebearer, your kind has spoken, but final choice must come from you. Jace felt the heat in his chest rise. What choice? He asked. Will you return the flame, or keep it for yourself? He turned to the Queen. If I return it, what happens? Go home, she said. The Earth is left to rise or fall on its own. And if I keep it, her voice softened, you become part of something greater. The flame becomes eternal. But you are no longer human. Jace looked down at Earth. He thought of the friends he lost. He thought of Ellie, watching from the ruins. He thought of his crew once frozen in time, now alive again. And he thought of how it all started with one stupid joke. A kiss on a statue. He smiled faintly, then turned to the Queen. I didn't come here to become a god. He placed his palm on his chest, where the mark burned brightest, and whispered, "Take it back." The queen reached out. Her fingers touched the mark. In that instant, light exploded from both of them, white, clean, endless. The flame rose. Into the sky, like a second sun, the judgment ring glowed golden and pulsed once, then vanished, just gone. Jace fell to his knees inside. Shit, the blade was gone. The mark was gone. But he felt whole. Human again. The queen looked down at him, a strange emotion in her eyes. "Why did you return it?" He looked up, breath shaky. "Because it never belonged to me. It belonged to you. To your people. I was just the one who woke it." She stared for a long moment, then stepped closer, and without a word she kissed him, not as a queen, not as a symbol, but as someone finally freed from centuries of silence. When their lips parted, she whispered, "That kiss saved us all." The temple ruins grew quiet again. The sky cleared. The alien ships vanished into the stars, and the jungle was just a jungle once more. Days later, Jace stood at Earth Command, looking at the stars through a wide window. Ellie stood beside him, arms crossed, smiling. "They say the flame disappeared," she said. "Just gone." Jace nodded. "Good. Let it sleep. And the queen?" He paused. "She said she'd return. If we ever needed her again." Behind them, a young cadet rushed in. "Sir, we've received a transmission. Unknown origin. Ancient code." Jace and Ellie turned. The screen flickered. A message appeared. Simple. Flame remembered. Galaxy watching. Be ready. Jace smiled. Slow and sure. Looks like peace doesn't mean silence. Final scene, far beyond the stars on a quiet alien world, the queen stood barefoot in a field of glowing flowers. She watched the stars, her hand resting gently on her chest. A soft mark glowed faintly beneath her skin. She smiled, not as a queen, but as a memory reborn.